Welcome back to the first episode of the Opposition Preview. I know we're about 5 games in and we haven't had any, but I thought I'll bring it back with a special guest, and that is Billy from the Beesotted Brentford podcast. And we'll be looking ahead to the game, of course, on Tuesday night against Brentford at Selhurst Park. Massive game for Palace. Hopefully bounce back from that City defeat, and also massive game for Brentford as well after their 1-1 draw against Everton. I'm pretty sure they'll be up for it as well. And as always, if you do enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Billy, thank you for coming once again back on the channel. Always a privilege to talk to you. Let's start off with your season so far. So you've had some decent results against Manchester United, beating them 4-0. You've had some frustrating ones against Fulham 3-2. It's your second season back in the Premier League. How would you sum up your start of the season so far?
Yeah, Dean, first of all, I want to say thanks for inviting me back on as well. It's a pleasure to be on a Palace podcast again, because that means that we're back in the Premier League as well. I mean, I'm a little bit worried about you, though, D, man, because you've been like, this holiday thing that you've been talking about. You've obviously been on the towels by the sunbed for far too long, because the 5 games in and you can't even come away from the ball, man. You know what I'm saying?
I needed it. I needed a holiday, but we're back. We're back in action now, Billy. We're back. We're back for the big game.
You are back, to be fair, and to be honest, we've all been back, and the players have been back a lot longer than you, but we won't take it away from you there. But anyway, listen, the season so far, it's been all right, to be quite honest with you, because I think the main thing for us is that we wanted to see whether or not we're going to be any good this season, because last season, obviously, we finished off on a high note. Everyone kept on telling us it was Christian Eriksen that saved us. We didn't believe them, because we know that we've got some great players. At the beginning of the season, we were good. At the end of the season, we were good. In the middle of the season, we had loads of injuries, right? And that's basically simply how it worked for Brentford. Literally, when we played us down at Griffin Park, or New Griffin Park, as we talked about a little bit, a terrible game it was, you know what I'm saying? But literally, we were finger in the damn time in that game, because literally all we wanted to do is chisel out points here or there, because we were so ravaged with injuries, like, David Raya being out, our sweeper keeper, who was a massive player for us and stuff. Like I said, I'll talk about that a bit later. But just coming back to that, so we wanted to make sure this season that we were right, that we're going to finish off like we did last season and hopefully take it to another level. Now, what they did is that they brought in a number of key players that we needed, because last season we didn't go mad. We didn't do an Aston Villa or a Fulham spending 150 million or dare I say it, Nottingham Forest, you know what I'm saying? And pick and mix, you know what I'm saying? Get the bag out, pick and mix, picking out another player, 25, 26, how many players we've got?
18 signings. 50. Yeah, a whole new squad.
Which is cool. And listen, different strokes for different folks, as they say, and maybe it might work for them. I have got no idea. But we decided that strategy wasn't for us. We stuck with our championship winning, our promotion winning side last season, but added a few players. Christopher Ayer was one of them, who was injured for a lot of that period anyway. You know what I'm saying? So, but players like that we brought into the side, and the club thought. I didn't realise this actually until the back end of the season, because we're a stats-based side. So all they do is they base a lot of everything that we do is based on stats. Then we go out and we get the humans to go and actually do their job. And they actually predicted before the season's going to start, we're going to finish in 13th place, and we finished in 13th place. And I thought that was brave for somebody, because I said 17th is good enough, but no, 13th. So the fact is, they kind of had a feeling that the players that we had were good enough for us to do all right in this league. And they didn't want to go out and spend loads of money. And they had a lot of pressure, especially in the January window, when we did bring in a right back, which we hadn't done for 2 years. And we still hadn't brought in a right back. And they said, yeah, we haven't brought in a right back. Yeah, we're going to go down because you don't know what you're doing. People need to, get sacked and all this kind of business, But then we were fine. And everyone was happy. We've done the business. So this season, yes, we brought in a right back, Aaron Hickey. He's wicked. You know what I'm saying? We've brought in, who else we brought in? We brought Keane Lewis Potter from Hull City, who's like an attacking midfielder. He's wicked. Like, you know what I'm saying? But these players still need to find their feet a bit, and we got Ben Mee from Burnley as well. He's wicked. So they've come into our side, and we've got a few others as well. They've come into the side, but what they've done is they've helped to take us to, I believe, another level. And we've seen exactly what they're doing. Listen, don't forget, when you get new players in, they've got to get to know the players' names and how they play and all this kind of stuff. So listen, things ain't going to be hunky-dory from day one, and from the first game in Leicester, we were 2-0 down at half-time, and Fulham, we were 2-0 down at half-time. But, the fact is that Frank knows how to flip the script. and he's flipped the script, and he knows how to change the players, bring the players on, and bring us back into the game. So that's been really promising to know that we don't give up. We've got some great players. We know that we can score goals. We're scoring goals where we weren't scoring goals before. Defensively, maybe in a couple of areas, we've still got some things that we need to work on, but then we do have Ethan Pinnock and Christopher Ayer out injured again. And they're out for... Ayer might be back tomorrow, but I'm not quite sure if he will. He might be on the bench. But Ethan Pinnock, who's a massive player for us in the air, he's out for a few months. And that's why Ben Mee came in. And also Zanka came in as well, because we needed some centre-back cover, because we can be caught in that area. And it's a little bit worrying, some of the players that you've got. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But coming back to the question, am I happy with how we've started? Of course, yeah. Coming back from 2-0 down to 2-2 at Leicester, happy with that. Smashing Man United 4-0, when you're singing, we want five, and, singing to their fans, where were you when you were good, and all this kind of stuff. It was, it's disrespect, but that's football for you. And look, we still invited them into our pubs beforehand and afterwards, have a drink with them, and that's what it's all about. But if you can't sing songs like that to Man United, especially when you're a team like Brentford, then you might as well give up now. You know what I'm saying? Because,
that's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's about beating the top teams.
That's what it's all about. And I never believed or ever thought that we're going to smash Man United 4-0 in our second season or first season or whatever like that in the Premier League. So listen, you've got to give us our moment, and you've given us our moment, and we do. Listen, we're enjoying it. And what's nice about this season, what I know is we came in against Everton, and then there's a few people came into the pub and they were going, I'm a little bit worried, Bill. I think we're getting a bit overconfident. I'm saying, because everyone's thinking that we're going to beat Everton, but I'm a bit worried that we're kind of just, we got to keep ourselves, because they've got some good players on their side. So there's this kind of knowing kind of where we are, and also realizing that, listen, back in the day, we used to play Southend and, Scunthorpe and all that kind of stuff. So don't get ahead of yourself too much. Realizing that, yes, you can do it, but also don't get too, because there's some teams that just, they think that, listen, they've won a few games and that's it. They're going to rule the roost. And I think there's a level-headedness about where we are at the moment now. We know we're going to come into this game against Palace today, and it's going to be, or today on Tuesday, it's going to be a tough one. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's going to be a tough game. Doesn't matter if we beat Man United 25-0. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a tough game. So I think that is the one thing that I still like about Brentford and the Brentford fans. And Thomas Frank, we're keeping it level, knowing that we always have a task to do. And, just because you've done one thing, doesn't mean you'll do it again. And I think that's part of the problem with that Man United team. They walked into us, like we were poo on their shoe sort of thing, I think. And they were like, yeah, who are you? Brentford. Yeah, okay, come on then. Bang, bang. Before you knew it, oh no, we're 2-0 down. And because we were on it and they weren't on it, you know what I'm saying? And it is in football. Sometimes you've got to be skillful. You've got some great players, but sometimes you just need to be on it, and you need to have the right players doing the right things at the right time, and everything comes off. And against Man United, everything came off, and it was a brilliant day. I mean, we got down the pub at, I think, 10:30 in the morning, even though it's a 5:30 kickoff, you know what I'm saying? So down by the river in Kew, drinking down there, and another place, you know what I'm saying? All through the day, you know what I'm saying? We made sure that we enjoyed our day, no matter what happened during the game. Then, of course, we got the result. Then afterwards, again, went on till God knows what time as well. So, like I said to you, for us, we make sure that we enjoy our day before the game, after the game. And if the game works out, then that's all good. Kick football out of football, as they say, except for actually bring it in now, because actually football is quite fun.
Exactly. It is fun now, but then afterwards, when you get a couple bad results, you're like, all right, keep out. Let's enjoy the day rather than football. When everything's ticking as it is in Brentford, I mean, so far you're 10th in the Premier League. You of course, you enjoy the football and the whole day as a whole. But talking about your recent game against Everton, it was a point against them. Everton's another side that hasn't been doing that great recently. I don't think they won a game in the Premier League all season long. But you mentioned one thing earlier on, and you talked about potentially your main weakness. Is that your defense? Am I right in saying that?
When you say your defense is weak, that's quite a broad statement. I think that if we don't necessarily have our key players in all the time, it can be a problem. But it's something that Thomas Frank is looking to address. But even Thomas Frank said it. Even after the Everton game, he goes, I was really happy with what happened in attack. With defence, I still think we've got a few things that we need to address. And you saw the goal that Everton scored. Ball over the top. Anthony Gordon, he's the new, lover boy at the moment. Everyone loves him at the moment, you know what I'm saying? And it's typical. So he's come in, bang, puts the ball on the back of the net to put an extra 5 million on his price, you know what I'm saying? So whoever it is Arsenal, whoever it is, I don't know who's after him, like, you know what I'm saying? They've got a bit more money to pay because of us, you know what I'm saying? But and we're a bit frustrated about that because, to be quite honest with you, other than that, after that, literally Everton came to just kill that game off, mate. And it was one of them ones where, listen, I know that, and we realised this, that, when we started in the Championship, we started to be quite good. We started to, like, our football we were playing was just wicked, and we were 800, 900 passes a game, bang, 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 this, that, the other. But, the guys are going left, right, up and down, back. But we was passing and keeping hold of the ball. But what we weren't doing is that we weren't, again, we're very statty at Brentford, and even the fans, because we've been, we supported this club through this era for years, so we understand that stat side of things. So when it comes to XG, which some people hate, but listen, we'll say it because it's got us to where we are. If you create some wicked chances, right, the chances of you putting the ball in the back of the net are great. So if you put the ball on a 6-yard box, the chances of you putting it in the back of the net are probably, 1 in 2, 6 out of 10, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. So that's what Brentford always choose to try to do. They used to work the ball to try and get it in the perfect position to put the ball in the back of the net. But the next minute you find out, next team would come up, get his effort, come and 35 yards, bang, and out of the blue, put the ball in the back of the net, 2 out of 100 times that would go in the back of the net. But that would kill us because and so we always work really hard to try and do that all the time. But we've realised that actually doesn't necessarily work like that. You've got to change your game up now, So we will change our game. So yes, we'll play the passing game sometimes, but we'll go long and we'll do different things. But Everton, they literally came to just squeeze the game. And once they got that win, the goal, relatively early on, 15, 20 minutes, whatever like that, the time wasting, Pickford was going down, players were going down. And listen, we all know about time, how it works, but it was so bad. And everything about it, it was just, there was trying not to play any football at all. And we came at them. We missed chances that we should have scored. We hit the woodwork 3 times. We had a goal that was disallowed that probably shouldn't have been disallowed. Now, I'm not moaning about it because that's just the way that football goes. But what I'm saying is that another time you get a Man United score and we'll beat them 4-0, 4-1.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? But for us, it didn't. Brian Mbeumo, listen, he should have scored a hat-trick on Saturday, but he didn't, because we know that Brian Mbeumo is a player who's very skillful, but when he gets in front of goal, he hit the post more than he'll put the ball in the back of the net. And that's the reason why he's at Brentford and not at, Liverpool and Man United or Everton or whatever like that. And we're not being negative on ourselves. We just know where we come from. When these players, one day these players they'll, he's only young. They'll learn and they'll start firing the next cylinders, or we'll have a game where everything will go right. But more often than not, we will find situations where we will create chances and we won't score. And that's what happened against the Everton game. That's what happened against the Fulham game in the second half. And that's why coming into the Palace game, I'm not that downbeat, because it's more about the performance. If we got into those games and we were terrible and we were rubbish, I'd be honest with you and I'd say, listen, mate, we are terrible, but it doesn't matter because we're going to go to the pub before and after, so I'm cool. But actually, but we're not. We're actually playing some decent football, but we need to watch out because you've got some very good players, and we have to be careful.
Yeah, and talking about some of our players, what player or players are you most worried about?
Of course, Eze. We know him from the Championship, and I will always refer to the Championship. And I still say the Championship with a lot of fondness because I've watched my team play in that division since I was a kid. Not the Championship, Division 3, Division 4. Right, I've seen them play in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th tier all my life. So I love those divisions. That's where we come from. I love players coming out of them divisions. I'm almost more excited about Keane Lewis Potter signing for us, from Hull City, than I am from somebody coming from Bologna or from Sampdoria, wherever these other places that they come and sign from. But that's a bit Premier League. And I still like this lower league thing that goes on, So Eze played for QPR, dare say it, is our big rival. So we were happy that you plucked him from there, because that means that he was removed from the scene at a time that he was causing some damage in that division as well, because he's a good player, So for me, and I know he was injured for a long time. In fact, he was injured last season, so he didn't play against us. I don't think he played in either game against us, actually.
Yeah, he didn't. He was out injured,
That's right. But we know that he can cause problems, and I've seen him at his start to the season. He's actually, he's done actually really well. He's done really well for you, and we know that we know what we need to do on him. So it's going to be an interesting situation. What's going to happen in our midfield to try and stop him from progressing the ball up the pitch, like, you know what I'm saying? So and everyone knows it's an interesting one as well, because I mean, everyone might say, oh God, this is so obvious, talking about Zaha, but he's the reason why I mention him, because he kind of he had a bit of a strop last season down at your ground as well, and what he's like, and I think fans were getting a bit frustrated with him because of his attitude, and I think there was a belief, and again, I'm just saying it from a Brentford fan because I can't speak as a Palace fan, because I can't. But the vibe that I got is that they're thinking, come on, just forget all the foolishness and just play football, because you're a really good player. So stop all this nonsense and just get on with it and stop him. But the fact is that if he just gets his head to say, listen, I'm just going to do my job and do it. He's also a very good player. So, and he's strong, and he can hit us in areas which could really hurt us. And also, and I dare I say, you sort of say which players you're looking out for, but the player that obviously I'm a bit nervous about is Patrick Vieira, who is not a player anymore. He was a player, and he's a player that knows the score, and he knows the coup. And he came to Palace, and I think he came to you to actually set you up to play in a particular type of way. And I think, again, there's a bit of frustration at the beginning going, oh, Vieira, he hasn't got the reputation, he's only in the MLS, what does he know? He's over in, you know what I'm saying? Because this is naturally what happens with people, because there's a feeling that you can only employ people that have ever been in
successful.
A position times, which will mean that no one will ever be progressed, because everyone is, all the successful people were the only people that get jobs, and it doesn't work like that. So looking at the way that he approaches the game and approaches football, and it's probably slightly different than other people do, I think it's been quite interesting, and he's managed to get his ideas across last season, and now he's progressing that into this season. So and you're doing all right from it. So okay, forget the last game, that won't count, that one. But other than that, or if games were 45 minutes, which sometimes you think that they should be, I think sure Fulham fans and Leicester fans are hoping that all games are 45 minutes, you know what I'm saying, along with you guys, you know what I'm saying? But no, it doesn't quite work like that. So but other than that, I think that he's doing all right and getting used to this level. So it'll be an interesting game, and again, we'll probably talk about that a little bit later, in the fact that you do play football. Okay, you've got some strength in there, but you also do play football. So it may allow us to play football a little bit more than Everton, who didn't want to play any football at all. They were literally just wanted to come there and just clog up the place and then go home and take the 3 points. And so that's quite. In fact, to tell you something, I'm going to just dig this up, because on our little Telegram, somebody actually made a really interesting note on this is an Everton fan, and this is named Mark Summers. At Marky PS, I mean, I don't know, it probably got no lights on it at all. MARKYPS, and they were sort of saying to you, how do you describe the Brentford game? This is an Everton fan. He goes, we played like a League One side drawn against a huge Premier League club in the FA Cup third round, who got a lucky early lead and tried to hang on for 70 minutes despite getting pounded for the greatest result in their history, only to get their hearts broken with 10 minutes to go. And that's an Everton fan. Now,
that's a compliment, to Brentford. That's a compliment to Brentford. It's showing where you guys have come from. Teams fear Brentford, whereas a few seasons ago you was in the Championship, but now you've made that step up to the Premier League, but you still got that fear factor in teams in terms of we're facing Brentford. It's not going to be a pushover. Whereas I'll be honest with you, I'm more scared about facing Brentford than the likes of Everton, because Brentford are a proper run football club. They know what they're doing under Thomas Frank. They haven't got. I wouldn't say you got like big names, but you got names that work in the Thomas Frank team. So it's a proper run football club, which shows how far you've come. You should be proud of your team.
No, 100%. And there's a lot. I think the word proud is the thing. So we are very proud, of our side, and hopefully you'll see it there in the support. I think when we went to Watford last season, and and again, everyone got their support, and they. And they do their thing. So this isn't a disrespect to anybody else, but we played them sort of near one of the last games of the season. And Watford fan who I respect a lot came up to us. He goes, "Cool, blimey, your support." He goes, "That's the best support that's been down here, other than Leeds United." He goes, Leeds United are a close second behind you lot last season. And the thing about it is that I think it's one of them things because it's quite new for us. So we'll travel out there and we kind of don't expect to win. So we're just pleased and proud for the team to do what they do. So we get behind them and we do what I do. And I think that's shown when we get behind our team and support them. What I will say is that might change in 3 or 4 years' time, because I can already see it when you've been in the league. And if you've been in the Premier League for 3 or 4 years or 5 years or something like that, you've done all these things already. So it becomes slightly the norm. So maybe, things like I'm talking about, that support thing may kind of slightly pull away a little bit because you've become sort of normalized to the situation. Does that make sense?
It's happened at Palace. Yeah, when we first got promoted, the first few seasons, support was fantastic. Then we had a period where it kind of fell off because you're like, this is the new norm, and you have more of like tourists coming as well because it's more enticing, your Premier League football club. So it changes. But of course, the passion, to keep that passion up there, you have to have belief on the football pitch. And I feel like you guys have that with Thomas Frank. So the support shouldn't fall down with Brentford unless things go horribly wrong. But of course, you're still new to the Premier League. You've only been here 1 season. You're in your 2nd season. I think that support will remain there for a long time. But of course, I think it happens to all big clubs. I think it's happened to Stoke before as well. When they were in the Premier League, their support kind of fell off. So yeah, it's all part of it. But talking about players on your side of things, you mentioned a few players, some few defenders, but despite losing Eriksen last season, you've done relatively well so far this season. It seems like you're not even missing him. And your big player that everyone knows about is Tony. But in this game, who should we watch out for? Is it Tony? Is it someone else? Who do you pick out as a danger man?
Like I said to you, if you check out, first of all, I'm going to say to you, Beesotted Podcast, Pride of West .London, you can check that out. We'd have a post-match podcast from the Everton game. You should check that out. It's always worth checking out because it's literally done straight on the terraces, microphone up people's noses, and they speak there and then. And we'll have one straight after the Palace game as well. It goes up live straight away, so it's up about an hour after the final whistle. What I will say is that we discuss these things as to who's our danger person, and it's really hard because Tony is the obvious choice, and he's a really good player. He scores great goals, but also his work rate is unbelievable. But let me just remove Tony from the situation. I'd say that I would like to think Brother Bumo is a danger person. The only problem is that him putting the ball in the back of the net at the moment now is just he's so fast and he's so clever and he's strong, but it's just that thing that just kills me. Christian Norgard, for me, our defensive centre back, is unbelievable player. He's a brilliant, incredible, clever. He used to be an attacking midfielder, reverted to a defensive central midfielder. He can read the game. He can break up the game. He can pass. He can run with the ball. He can do all things. So if he has a great game, we have a great game as well. It's interesting. There's a player called Janelt who we've got the song. He came from Germany. Actually, we used to say he only cost 10p because he cost us 500 grand from Germany. Like I'm saying, and we got him in because Christian Norgard got injured in the Championship, and we were really thought, oh no, we built a team like around Norgard. What are we going to do? Also, this guy popped up. We're like, who's he? You never heard of him, but most Brentford transfers you never heard of. So he's turned up, and all of a sudden he was brilliant. So Norgard was out for like about 4 or 5 months. But this Janelt was like, like somebody goes into hero status, somebody that puts their neck on the line, throw themselves on the ball, but just runs around and just does everything that you want them to do. So when Norgard came back, we had the sort of kind of Lampard-Gerrard scenario. Who is going to be, who they're going to drop? They can't play the two of them together. So Thomas Frank has tried to put the two of them in the side, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work as much as it can do. But he's a brilliant player who, to be quite honest with you, may or may not even start on Tuesday because having him in the side, it depends on where he's going from. So I mean, I've given you a few little options. Keane Lewis-Potter will be interesting. He's only come on as a super sub so far, but when he comes on, he really does affect the game, and he's a very skillful player. Visa plays up front, and the song is Visa's on fire. But Visa, if you watched his miss against Everton on Saturday, where literally he was right in front of the goal and talk about XG. I mean, the XG must have been like
1,
99 99 out of 100. There must have them going in the back of the net. And Visa, literally, I don't know how he put the ball over from where he was. You know what I'm saying? But these things happen. But maybe KLP. Keane Lewis-Potter might come in for Wisa because he's been looking quite good, or maybe they might want to keep him as an impact sub. I don't know. So I've given you a few little options there for players to watch out for the mighty Bees.
Yeah. And then finally, your lineup and score prediction, because look, you've come, as I said, some great results this season. Like the Man United one, and then maybe Everton, you should have won that game. If you look at the second half and maybe create a chance you created. But how do you think it's going to go against Palace? Of course, you have to back your boys. I understand that. How do you think you'll go?
Personally, I'll be happy with a draw against Palace, and it's not because we just got to chisel away. And I think that you've got a good team, you've got a good manager, and you've got some decent results. Man City game doesn't count because Man City, to be honest, if they're in a league of their own, well, they're probably not in this season actually, but that's a different discussion. But you know what I'm saying. But in general, normally they're in a league of their own. So you take a Man City result, you just take it out of the pot, and then you just count everything else. So if you look at that, you think, okay, it's dangerous. I'll be happy with a result. As for the lineup, we'll have Raya in goal as we normally do. We'll have Hickey on the right. We'll have we've got Rico Henry on the left, which interestingly, Gareth Southgate was down at Brentford on Saturday, and we're trying to work out who he's come down to watch, because I'm not sure if he's coming down to watch anyone from Everton. Maybe Gordon. I don't know if Gordon plays for Scotland, is he? I don't know. Gordon, I'm not sure. But anyway, but for Brentford, is it Ivan Toney? Because a lot of people be saying Ivan Toney because okay, forget about the goals that he's scored. Even though I think he's the second highest goal scoring penalty taker in the country or something. I can't remember. But anyway, Ivan Toney, but also we thought Rico Henry might be a little secret one as to whether or not he may or may be watching Rico Henry. So he's wicked, right back, flying right back, and then we'll probably, like I said to you, we probably go two at the back, but then maybe we might not. We'll be, I don't know if Pontus Jansson's back. He was injured last weekend, but it was a minor injury, so I can't remember who we had. And we had Ben Mee and we had Zanka actually in defence this time. So we'll flip that up, because, and then we got Christian Norgard in the middle, in the central of the midfield there, and then we've got Jensen, and we've got De Silva, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, and then we've got up front we've got Mbumo, and then we've got Tony, and then got Wisa. So will we go with that? Maybe we might take Wisa out, I said, and put Keane Lewis Potter in instead. But also we've got to think of Damsgaard. I think Damsgaard, who haven't spoken about him before, is we've signed him as well. He's a wicked player, as you know, played for in the Euro Championship semi-final for Denmark against England, scored against England in the semi-final as well. He was the player that rose to prominence after Christian Eriksen sort of had to come off for Denmark in their first game, and all of a sudden everyone was talking about Damsgaard, and he had a wicked tournament, and he's a great player. Like I said to you, we signed him from Italy. Again, we didn't think, was it Sampdoria? I think we signed him from, and he's a great player. He was out. He had some injuries last season. We're building him up, so we're not putting him straight into the side, but maybe 15, 20, 25 minutes he comes on and he comes and does the business. So, like I said to you, maybe he might come on and he might play in that advanced left role instead of Wisa. But it's all very exciting.
Yeah, look, you got alternatives. It seems like you haven't got a pure starting 11 where it's set for every week. That's always a good thing. It shows that you got competition there, you got depth there, so players can potentially come into the side. And we've got the same at Palace. Like, you might know a few players that might be starting, but then there's certain positions that you're not too sure about. That's including injuries. Will we see Zaha back against Brentford because he wasn't there in the Manchester City game? Eze should be starting, for example. Would Elise start? He hasn't started a game in the Premier League so far this season. Had appearances off the bench. So there's question marks on both sides. And I think it could be a good tactical battle between Vieira and Thomas Frank. But for me, my score prediction is, because we're at home and because what happened against Man City was a bit frustrating, I don't think Brentford's going to be an easy game at all. But realistically, we should be aiming to try and win this game at home in front of the fans. So I'm going to go for like a 1-0. I think it'll be a very tight game. Maybe we can nick it at the end, something like that. I'll just take 3 points regardless. Will be absolutely fantastic for us, because we've had some hard stuff. We've had Arsenal, we've had Liverpool, we've had Man City, and we haven't even played 10 games this season. It's been a crazy start for us. So we're looking at this game as potential. Hopefully we can go out there and win, but only time will tell, and it's not going to be easy at all. But let us know your score predictions in the comment section down below, and let us know your thoughts as well ahead of the game. Thank you to Billy. Billy, where can they find you and all the work that you do?
I said, we're Beesotted. Like I said to you, we started off as a fanzine. We've been going 30 odd years, man. So like I said, we've been around for a while. So fanzine, paper fanzine's gone into a blog. We do some video blogs, but we haven't done some for ages. But you can still check them on YouTube on Beesotted 1992, and also you can catch us on Pride of West London. Our podcast on there, we do 2, maybe 3 podcasts a week. We've done nearly 1,000 podcasts now as well, so we're pretty lively. We're pretty busy, and like I said to you, that's kind of our main channel where we do our communicating. And like I said to you, after the match, we do a live podcast, speak to Palace fans. We're going to speak to Brentford fans, and we put it up, and it'll be up live hopefully by maybe 10:30 on Tuesday night. So you should definitely check that out on prideofwest.london. But it's Beesotted, BEESOTTED on BEESOTTED on Twitter and on Facebook and other places that you can catch hold of us on.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who's watched it. Thank you, Billy, once again for coming on the channel. Always a privilege talking with you about Brentford. You know yourself. You gave us a lot of insight. Hopefully, Vieira's watching this and can grab a few information out of it as well. Thank you for watching. And until next time, up the Palace.